Welcome to the Career Refresh Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Griffin. I'm a former media and marketing executive turned career strategist and executive coach. I spent my career working my way up and through the ranks of global organizations and startups, and today I show others how to do the same. Join me each week as we discuss the strategies and actionable steps to leverage your strengths, increase your confidence, and develop your career well-being. Ready? Let's do it. Hey friends, this is Jill Griffin and I'm the host of the Career Refresh. Today I want to talk to you about framework thinking. You might be like, why do I need that? Trust me, you need this for your career success, for your career strategy, and for your own personal organization of thoughts and decisions. As a trained strategist, I often take information, lots and lots of information, and then I cull it down into a framework. And I talk to other strategists who also think in framework. And the power of framework thinking, while it is one of my innate strengths, it is absolutely a skill you can learn. So many workplaces are weak and have ineffective processes until they hire some sort of a systems thinker. And while a systems thinker is a bit of a mindset versus a prescriptive process that everyone uses, think about framework thinking as a subset of systems thinking. Look, not every company is going to invest the time for systems thinking. And I'll also tell you to watch how they begin to fail and become ineffective, either because morale is depleted or people are resigning because it's chaos. In the meantime, if a company is not employing systems thinking, you can deploy framework thinking for your own life and work right now. Frameworks are an effective way to bring clarity to situations, initiatives. They are a way to understand mass amounts of information that are coming at us all the time. Framework thinking can be as simple as a pro and cons list, a personal scorecard, or they can be more advanced like a consumer marketing funnel. Good frameworks focus your thinking and they allow teams to hone in on what matters. So there's no perfect in business, but the ability to think clearly and therefore be able to make better decisions and executive decisions is going to be the difference between your success and your partner's success or failure. Mapping challenges, explaining technological features to your client, your executive leadership, maybe even your mother, enables you to be the voice of reason. People don't feel intimidated. They want to ask you questions because you've simplified it for them. You haven't made it scary. You've made it understandable, something they can marinate on and digest. They trust you. You have a framework to think through and also trust your own decisions. You're not going to have all the answers, but you're going to have a process for how to source them and then think through the various decisions. So like I said, a consumer marketing funnel is a framework that takes a person from awareness to acquisition, then on to revenue and hopefully retention. And because this is not a marketing podcast, I'm obviously very much simplifying a consumer funnel, but it helps you break down what's unknown into knowns, and then you solve for it. So here are my 4 frameworks for framework thinking that I use regularly, and I also explain and take clients through, and it helps them manage their thinking and their approach to their own career and strategy. So the first is what I call the 3 S's. This is about understanding from your career well-being, knowing what you're going to focus on, knowing what gives you energy, knowing what might exhaust you or give you burnout. And then you want to dig in and know how to mitigate what isn't working. So first, the first S is strengths. This is your genius. This is where you excel. Knowing what is easy for you, knowing when time flies, knowing when you're in the flow, knowing what you're really good at. You can Google a list of strengths. It could be organization of data. It could be clear thinking. It can be the discipline. It can be anything that is going to help move something forward, but doesn't require a lot for you because it's just in your zone of genius. That's the first S, strengths. The second is stretch. This is where you can get there on your own, but you become clear in the areas where you may need some additional training, where it's more likely self-directed learning. Oh, you know what? I'm going to read about the latest on AI, right? It's a place that you stretch. You understand it conceptually, but in order to really plug and play it into your day-to-day work, you're going to have to spend a little time there. Perhaps an internal sponsor or an external mentor may help here, but I really look at stretch as being more self-directed. The third S in the framework is suck. This is about mitigating the suck. This is about finding help, a partner. Maybe you need the equivalent of like adult tutoring. This is where you can leverage perhaps another strength to hack your way there, but know where you have limitations. Listen, I can chart out the tedious details of a launch or a marketing effort, but I'm like a cat with a laser light. Like my brain does not want to stay focused in the weeds for a long period of time. My brain wants to think about concepts, ideas, and systems. I'm the strategist, the futurist. So what do? I partner with someone who is equally excellent and loves to get into the weeds and take my ideas and make them so much better than they could have been because they have that a level of like seeing what I can't see, where I may see big future and around the corner, they can see in the weeds, spaceships and lawnmowers. We need each other. So when I find someone like that, it really mitigates the suck on my side and I don't get depleted. When you're constantly working in an area that's a blind spot or the suck, it's going to drain you. You're going to make mistakes. So knowing those in advance, you can then use you can then use mindset or time management techniques to help you get there, right? So strengths, stretch, and suck, your first framework, your 3 S's. Second framework, evaluations. This is how you know what worked and where to move forward. This is listing out what worked, what didn't work, and what you would do differently. Make sure you have equal emphasis on what worked and what didn't work. Our brains, our natural bias is going to want to make a really long list of all the things that didn't work around something. And this is anything from a project to a job interview to a conversation for asking for a raise. Making sure you're spending time in both what worked and what didn't work will then give you time to think through what you would do differently next time. And here's where a little bit of like math and magic come in. The brain doesn't really understand time and space, that continuum. So when you practice what you would do differently, your brain already starts thinking it through. So the next time you're put in a situation like that, you have a much greater chance of being able to implement those changes right away and not repeating mistakes of the past. If we don't do evaluations, we don't know what worked and we don't know where we want to grow to move forward. The next one is around how you prioritize. It's about understanding what is urgent or not urgent, what is important and not important, because something can be not important but urgent. And then you need to decide whether or not you're laying in there or whether you're going to let it go or delegate it, right? So really having that understanding of like, do I need to do it now? Do I need to delegate it? Do I need to plan on? Do I need to make time for it? It's really understanding, again, urgent, not urgent, important, not important. Really a freeing framework that I would often, when I would have a new worker or a junior worker, I would often create a little box and give it to them on a Post-it so that they could start to learn how to self-manage and be able to make better decisions. And then the last one is what, I've heard called different things. I like to call it the empathy map. And this is like whether your audience is the board of directors, executive leadership, or it's your client. This is about stepping into their shoes and then rolling through your own senses, but through their point of view. So if you're about to make a presentation or give information, you want to be thinking, okay, what might the recipient of this information be hearing, spoken and unspoken, when they see this content for the first time? What might they be seeing in the room or on the screen? How might they be digesting the information and visually that you're giving them? Next, what are they feeling or thinking about this information? What is going to come up for them? Are they going to be defensive? Are they going to reject it? Are they going to be thinking about, well, this is going to impact my job because it's going to make my world harder because I have to do this? Does this impact revenue streams? Really thinking through what they might be thinking Which then leads to the last area is that what might they say or ask? So how are you preparing for that accordingly? And what are they going to say in the room with you or in private? Right? When you can think that through, you have a much better chance of being successful. It may also lead when you're done speaking or you're done presenting your portion, you may also want to start asking them questions that lead to the hearing, the thinking, the feeling, and the saying so that you can get as much information as possible. Listen, friends, this idea of framework thinking and being able to not only think clearly, but get yourself and others to focus and then be able to make decisions that feel like they're based in a strategic foundation and then implement it faster. I don't care if this is you thinking about networking, your next job interview, or your next meeting. This is a way to freedom. This is how you start up-leveling your executive presence and showing up differently. People know you won't waste their time. They will begin to trust you, and you will begin to be an internal source of calm and an internal source of truth, right? It also helps people understand when they're working with you, they're getting an unbiased approach because you're applying a framework to your thinking. All right, friends, as always, I want to hear from you. What frameworks are you deploying? How do these particular frameworks work for you? Or do you have other ways of doing system thinking and framework thinking? As always, email me at hello@jillgriffincoaching.com. And listen, if you need support with this, you need support with executive presence, you need support with strategically thinking about the job that you're in or the career that you want, reach out. That's what I do. I help people really create what's next for them. I'm putting all my information in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, friends, have a beautiful week, and I will see you next time. Hey, thanks for listening to the Career Refresh podcast. If you're enjoying this and you want more information, go to my website, jillgriffincoaching.com. There you can find information on how to work with me one-on-one or my group programs, or even bring me into your workplace. I'll put the link to my website in the show notes. But hey, listen, before you go, do me a favor, rate and review this podcast because it definitely helps me get the word out to people everywhere so that they can also thrive in the workplace. All right, friends, I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.